right, with the Xfinity Series over with on Sunday nights from Sim500 tonight, we start something new for the winter season as we kind of take that time off between the Xfinity time of portion of Sim500. And last season it was a Super Speedway Series. This season we bring over some truck racing from Sim500 as we welcome you in to the Transervice Winter Truck Series season race number 1. And tonight that comes from the Atlanta Motor Speedway, the new version of the Atlanta Motor Speedway virtually here on iRacing. We welcome you in tonight. 79 degrees, typical default weather that is set up in the Sim500 series. 53% humidity, partly cloudy skies on this 1.54 mile motor speedway as we get ready for race number 1 of 10 in the regular season of this 14-week schedule that we'll talk about the rules and stuff here coming up. I am the captain, Chris Scala. We welcome you in on this Sunday evening, and I'm joined by a special guest that will be with me a majority, if not all, of the weeks, obviously depending on his schedule. He's a pretty busy person, but he's also somebody who's not only a talented driver on this service, but one that knows a lot about racing here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. He is a Georgia boy himself, actually, as we welcome in to the stream for the first time here on the Captain Esports Network. If I can find the button that turns his mic on. I'm a rookie at this, I guess. Ricky Springer, welcome in. Ricky, you're going to be joining us throughout here, and track that is home to you, so to say, here at Atlanta Motor Speedway, one that is fun and has been sort of redone, and people like it, people hate it, but it's going to make some interesting racing tonight.
Certainly, and I appreciate it, Chris, but the Transervice Truck Series, what a great choice of a first track to go to after the rear configuration. It's almost like kind of a mile-and-a-half Daytona, Chris. These drivers are going to be side by side all evening long, and we're going to have to see exactly what these trucks are going to do. You had mentioned in the pre-race earlier, trucks getting a little bit loose on these drivers longer into the run, so going to be a track that's a little tough to tame. We'll have to see if we get possibly some wrecks like in the Truck Series at Talladega just a few days ago.
That is going to be an interesting setup to have to battle. We talked about the looseness, and that's more because of the tire wear. Or not even the wear, but the heat in the tires that are causing that issue. But Rick, let's talk a little bit about Atlanta Motor Speedway. This track obviously was built way back, and as you've learned, was not the original Atlanta Motor Speedway. It had a kind of different name to it.
Yeah, back in the 1960s is when Atlanta International Raceway was built, and then in the late 90s, October to be exact, it was bought by the corporation that most tracks are owned by, which is Motorsports Corporation. It turned into Atlanta Motor Speedway. For instance, Texas Motor Speedway, all owned by the same person. And this track has been through multiple different configurations, from one back in the 90s. What it started out as is almost a homestead configurations, no dogleg, straight straightaways, and then we went to the dogleg configuration, and we added a little bit more banking. It used to be 28 degrees. We upped that and turned it into a flat-out monster of a mile-and-a-half track.
Yeah, and it actually used to be a 1.522 mile oval when it was a straight-up oval, and if I remember correctly, the track was symmetrical. It was exactly the same length straightaways as the corners on that track, and of course, Bruton Smith bought it with SMI, turned it into this thing, and here we are. And they do Legends Racing down there on the quarter mile, and all different types of racing here now. They used to hold the, what was it, the Nopi Nationals, I believe was the event that used to be held there, the big car showcase. Was at the Speedway. Not sure if they still do that to this day, but it's hosted plenty of great events in the series. So what do we expect here tonight? Because these trucks, I mean, they're going to draft like a super speedway, but eventually the handling is going to come into play here, especially with the warmer temps, the sun's being out. So we're going to see, obviously, the track getting warmer and warmer throughout this afternoon. So you know you're going to battle handling. Are we going to see more single file racing after that?
We'll honestly have to see how these drivers tend to take this race. 100 laps, so not a short race by any means, Chris, as these drivers going to have to battle that of what is the best option for them. Track position obviously going to be important here, but with it being a super speedway type race, we might see that single file as some of these drivers start to understand how the draft works. We had about, I believe, a 40-minute practice or almost an hour practice pre-race, so these drivers got a pretty good idea of how they start to handle, and we might see some single file, but also a lot of drivers towards the back trying to josh for position to get up front.
All right, let's take a look at the starting grid. We got done with the 1 minute warm up. Tyler Dalton, not surprised by this front row here. Tyler Dalton, Tommy Ryan, those two are super speedway experts when it comes to running single truck. In this case, they will start on the pole. Glenn Campbell will start next to Steve Ritter there in row number 2. Row 3, Bobby Wetzel. He will start next to the boss man, Joey Jatina. Jimmy Coleman, another South driver there, and George's Jeff Ryan will start there in row number 4. Row 5, John Higman Jr., Randy Yoakum, another of those 811 call before you dig trucks there, will start in the 10th position. Do you got access to the 11th through 20th there, Ricky?
I do, and Donnie Leah going to qualify in the 11th spot in the 29 truck. 12th place going to belong to Mike Kelly. 13th going to be Robert Glenwater. 14th position going to be Tom Derling. In the 15th spot is going to be Brandon Key. 16th belongs to the 12 truck of Scott Simile. 17th spot is going to be Anthony with a blistering lap there. All these drivers really close, Chris, and that's very interesting. We'll have to talk about that afterwards. 18th spot going to be Ed. 19th spot going to be John Flower. And 20th spot, rounding out the top 20, is Kevin Stone.
Yeah, Kevin Stone there in the top 20. PJ Luttrell will start there in row 11 alongside Ron Holyfield. David Comstock and Chad Coleman probably watching the Braves game tonight. He showed up a little late to the race, but he's ready to go here this evening. And the rest of the field for the 36 starters, you'll see there on the screen: Kevin Brown, Derek Myers, Eric Arnold, Josh Parker, Stoney Benfield, John Mustin Jr., Mike Montesi, Kevin England, Steve Herring, Doug Sigmund, Brian Wortman, Gerald Livingston, rounding out the 36 truck field. That'll go 100 laps tonight. Let me do the math real quick. That's 154 miles, 1.54 times, something like that. Let's go in Florida. 36 trucks about to take the green flag and start the winter series of the Transervice Truck Series from Atlanta Motor Speedway. Let's go racing on Sunday night here in Atlanta. And these trucks do have the super speedway package. Go ahead, Ricky.
Yeah, and all the drivers off to a great start, 2 by 2, and we can already see, Chris, that outside lane, everybody trying to get down to the bottom. Maybe more single file racing that we're going to see here. Probably only 10 to 11 cars still on the top side as they work their way out of Turbo 1.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me one bit here. You want to be patient, and these guys here at Sim500, I've been blown away by some of their super speedway racing. Yes, I covered a series back last season that was all super speedway racing, but then we got into the Xfinity series during the racing season time. And I was watching moves at Daytona and Talladega. I'm like, there's no way. Why are these guys doing this? I was shocked. And I'm like, you know what? I learned quickly because they can do it and they know how to do it together. As Dalton leads lap 1, Bobby Wetzel leading that top side, though, with outside help from Tommy Ryan.
Yeah, a lot of trucks starting to line up on the top side now. Maybe it's not as tame as we thought was going to be the case, but as you can see, the 2 trucks up at the front of the field, the 19 of Dalton and the 44 of Glenn Campbell battling hard, trying to push on the bottom side.
Saw a little bit, almost a 3 wide. Somebody almost scraped the wall about mid-pack there. Tom Dreiling up there in the 10th position himself. Should mention our cameras, as always, presented by TrackCams22.com. You can check them out online. They're on Facebook, and their website, of course, is TrackCams22.com. Closest thing to real-life cameras that you will see on iRacing, made by Itzfan and the guys at TrackCams for Gourmet. Their website, again, TrackCams22.com. Wetzel leading that top side, and he's actually sticking up there with help from Tommy Ryan and Steve Ritter in that 16 truck, looking good.
Yeah, we're going to have to see if this top side may be putting more heat in that right rear like we were talking about, Chris, making the trucks on the top side a little bit more squirrely and those drivers on the inside maybe saving a little bit more. So as we get later on in this one, we'll have to see exactly what lane will prevail, not only just from the pushing and joshing for position, but also on that tire.
Now, the one thing you mentioned was the qualifying times, Ricky. These guys were so tight together, and I think that's a product of this package that they have, because this is not a regular race package these trucks are running. This is actually the Daytona Talladega tapered spacer package, super speedway, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, these drivers all the way 1 through almost 25th were within 0.2 of each other, which is usually something we would see at a super speedway, but even then we might see more of a deviation. So this track had a lot of close qualifiers, but these drivers also showing the speed in their trucks in the race.
Now, one thing we should point out, of course, a lot of the series, they run a halfway bonus, like a stage race bonus, as the 60 gets loose there of Higman. They had to check up a little bit. Got very tight down there on the bottom. Everybody does a great job of giving each other plenty of room, but no bonus points at all at halfway in this series. It's just straight up 100 laps, 100% fuel, which gets you about 50 to 55, so it should be a simple one-stop race if you can get to that mark. And, I mean, go get the win. That's pretty much it, and it's not a win and get in, so it's top 10 in points straight up. Go to the playoffs.
Absolutely, the conventional way, the way that most of us are used to that watched real-life NASCAR racing up until just quite a few years ago. Just how you can do the points, the best finishers throughout all the races. Continue to move on through the point standings and have a shot at winning a championship, which, again, Chris, is going to make track position very, very important for these drivers. You know, you can't finish last in 5 races and then continue to go on and try and run for a championship after winning a race. So not only consistency is going to be key in keeping these trucks clean throughout the whole series, but this first race can dictate a lot of momentum for the drivers throughout the rest of the season. 1996,
I think of off the top of my head, when Terry Labonte won the championship with all of 1 win. Jeff Gordon had 13 wins, I think, that season. It was either 10 or 13. I can't remember the exact number off the top of my head. I'll let you guess who won the championship. It was not Jeff Gordon. Because of the consistency of Terry Labonte, he won that championship, actually. Sounds weird.
Chris, I don't even think I was a thought at that point.
Yeah, well, I was only 10 years old at that moment, but the good old days, as they said, as some people call it. But yeah, still 2x2 here as Dalton still holding it down on the inside lane. He's got the Rhinestone Cowboy, as I like to call him, Glenn Campbell there in the 44. Joey Jatina there behind him, the 14, the boss man there, running in the third car inside, third truck inside, 6th position right now. And you see Jeff Ryan in the 8 truck right there behind him. And yeah, Ricky, I'll let you call for a little bit here.
Yeah, absolutely, as these drivers working their way through turns 1 and 2 here down the long AMS back straightaway. A lot of clean racing. We're not seeing a whole lot of 3-wide action here. Rarely, if any, there was a tiny bit with Jeff Ryan on the first lap, Randy Yoakum. A few other drivers got 3-wide, down the back straightaway, but straightened it up. Now we just have these double file lane trucks staying about a half a truck length off of each other and continuing to push and keeping that back and forth leading laps between the top 2 of Tyler Dalton and Bobby Witzel. Those 2 drivers just back and forth for each lap going 1-to-1. Way off of turn 4 yet again, and a lot more. I've seen Randy Yoakum, and I know I keep bringing up his name, but in that 8 truck, continuing to just go down the inside line, side drafting off of Joey's truck, seeing exactly what he can do. I mean, this is well-learned knowledge that you can use for later on in the race. These drivers are going to have to get an understanding of how these trucks not only work in the air, but also the fuel saving up in the front. We're talking about 50 to 55 laps making on the tank of gas. Some of these drivers might be able to make it further and stretch it to 60.
Absolutely, and that's going to make it very interesting when we get to that point, because a lot of people wonder, will we make it to that point because of the right rear tire getting almost screaming hot. I was hearing temps of almost 300 degrees on the right rear in the middle part of like lap 25 of a run. So what's weird about it to me is, yes, you would think going to the bottom and turning the wheel more would create that temperature in the truck, but it sounds like the higher you go up the track is where the more temperature's coming.
Yeah, and I mean, that could be in part to a lot of things. I mean, those drivers having to carry a significant amount more speed to keep with the inside line, so it could be the speed difference there. The fact that these drivers not only trying to pinch the other drivers on the bottom of the track, I mean, there's so many different things that go into that tire heat there, but 300 degrees, it is screaming hot. I mean, logistically in real life, that would be considered a big setup problem, and we would probably fix that, but here on iRacing, you have a little bit more leniency on that, but some of these drivers, we'll have to see exactly what they can do, is hopefully the guys on the top the whole race.
I think you just almost have to just let off the throttle maybe a little bit and just kind of let the car coast mid-corner and that kind of thing and keep it underneath you. It's tricky, but right now we rhyme with Ron Holyfield, who started all the way back in 22nd up to 15th. He's the biggest mover in this race, and yes, it's been kind of tough to pass, but if you can get momentum, and of course you got, a few trucks back in the back that are just riding single file, being patient, you can make some moves and work your way through the pack. You got to remember, this track is now 50 feet wide. It used to be, I think it was 75 feet wide from bottom to the top. Daytona is the same size when it comes to distance from bottom to top, 50 feet. The difference is the radius of the corner is a lot sharper because of the smaller distance.
Absolutely. And, like we have said this whole time, this new Atlanta Motor Speedway configuration, I had, of course, raced here in real life on the Legends Oval on the old configuration, or what we consider now the old configuration of Atlanta Motor Speedway. And the track is so much different. I showed up this year for the Xfinity Series, and the track just is a ton different. You show up in the infield, the garages are all the same. You walk out to the track, and it's like you're at a completely new racetrack, Chris. So iRacing is no different.
Whoa! 16 got loose there. Third truck outside. Ritter, and now he's in the outside wall. Now they're 4 wide and hitting each other. And Jeff Ryan's off track, so is I think it's a 23, maybe that is right there. But and they're still hitting each other. And now John Fowler's sideways, yeah. And there's still no caution. Nobody's spun out. Just people going everywhere.
Yeah, this is going to completely destroy the pack that we had going there. Everybody all spread out now. And I don't even know if there's maybe 10 trucks in the lead pack now, Chris.
No, that's pretty much what you got right there. Nice save by everybody, but no trucks spun around. So I'm sure somebody's going to be like, hey, where's the caution? Well, nobody wrecked, really. Just everybody hit each other. Great save, though. It all started with the 16. Let me see if I can find a replay of that. But, I mean, I looked up mid-corner, turn 3, and I saw the 16 doing almost the back end was facing the front straightaway after he just got loose in mid-corner. It was like, how he saved it was incredible.
There's a lot of trucks now with damage, Chris, and we'll have to see exactly how that plays here. Again, it's kind of a super speedway type here, so not necessarily the old Atlanta where you can get away with a little bit of damage, and quite a few trucks got some front and rear end damage just from the joshing around there and trying to get around the trucks that were sideways.
You see Tommy Ryan up there still trying to push the Wetzel 9 truck, and he's got his teammate there, Randy Oakham, behind him. And then, of course, inside line, Glenn Campbell. You got Jatina and then Jimmy Coleman right there behind them. Steve Ritter, who was the truck that got really loose just a couple laps ago. He rides the 5th car on the inside lane right now. So, yeah, it's kind of spread out. Handling coming into play now, 20 laps. So we're about almost halfway into this fuel run now. So I think a lot of trucks you're going to see now are just going to go single file and try to catch this lead pack. There's Scott Simley on the tail end of it.
Yeah, that's about the only option that they have there. You can see still not very organized to get back up to the front. 3 trucks on screen right now, the 24 truck. And these drivers, they're going to have to get organized, Chris, to get back up to that front pack, especially if this race goes green throughout the whole way, which, assuming the driver's up in the front pack, I'm hoping so, with a situation like that, not likely to happen again with, only 10 to 15 trucks in that lead grouping.
Anthony Calantoni trying to get this pack all together here with Kevin DeBrown and see who else is in there. I think Eric Arnold's in this battle here now. So these guys are going to try to get single file. They're passing a couple of slower trucks, but they've done a great job to get this pack reorganized there. You see that Transervice number 20 of Derek Myers. He's got this group together of trucks, but the bad news is for these guys is now they're sitting almost, 6 seconds back. So they're going to need to get single file really quickly. Now, I have seen at times in this series and even on iRacing where some tracks you can get double filed up and actually start to catch that lead pack. How weird. Another truck gets loose. Myers there on the inside of turn 2. I think that was Myers.
Yeah, these drivers not taking it easy, Chris, like we had anticipated they were going single file. They're still joshing up there. And, well, that might create some more problems here. We might see a little bit more spread out. I'm hoping not, but these drivers racing very aggressively just about halfway through this fuel run.
Kevin Stone was the 17 that got loose there. My mistake to the 20 truck of Myers. Didn't want him to get confused there. So I think I found the replay we're looking for. Watch the 16 here in turn 3 and 4. That little hopper, we kind of caught it there at the last second, but let's just manually rewind it. There we go. Nothing like a little old school rewind. Watch right there. Bam! That thing let snappy loose on him. And, of course, he got the wall, and everybody started ping-ponging off each other.
And I believe, Chris, that was the beginning of what we were talking about in the pre-race, that right rear getting too hot. It looks like the truck just stepped out from behind him there and ended up getting loose, and a couple other trucks collected there. But that's the beginning of what we were speaking about the whole race so far. Only 25 laps in, I think we've mentioned it 5 or 6 times now. But that right rear getting so hot, the drivers can't hang on to it. Now you're looking at the front half of the field, and everybody's staying pretty much single file here, with the exception of, sorry, that was the second
pack, yeah.
So the first pack here still 2 by 2 lead, but that second pack trying to get organized and catch back up.
And they are catching them. It's down to 5.5 seconds. Being single file, Kevin and Brown is leading that train. Kevin's a really good pusher. I remember watching him in the last season Super Speedway series, and I say this every season. Like, you want to get somebody behind you in this league pushing, it's that 93 truck right there. He will push anybody. Even if the bumpers don't hook up, somehow he finds a way to just push you and get you up there to the front or whatever's needed. But, Ricky, obviously you're pretty talented here driving these vehicles. I mean, you're a heck of a lot better than I am. What is there any way without killing your speed to keep temperature out of that right rear? Because, I mean, obviously your first thought is move brake to the front, but we don't use the brakes.
Yeah, so the best way that I can kind of suggest, and you can look at the guys in the second group here, like Kevin E. Brown, Eric Arnold. Most of the drivers in this second pack, they're widening up their entry. They're getting a bit of an entry arc. As you can see, they come off that red line there and dive down to the bottom. That's going to keep the right rear a little bit cooler, as for the front pack, right, side by side, you don't have that leeway to get the arc into the corner, so those drivers are going to have to hold it tight the whole way around. So honestly, better or worse, the drivers in the second pack having to catch back up might not think they're fortunate right now, but that right rear is being saved by those drivers just widening up that entry there, and everybody in that line seems to be doing it.
How much can steering ratio play a role?
Steering ratio.
Oh, trouble! Sorry to interrupt you. 8:14 around. Jimmy Coleman, Ritter, and these guys up front spun around. Caution is out. I saw the 8 get turned sideways. Not sure if he got loose, but I saw Jatina and others involved right up front in his lead pack. Maybe 4 or 5 trucks involved. And caution's out for the first time. There are no resets, by the way, in this series. So these guys are going to have to get to work really quickly. And Ricky, I hope your dad's watching, because one of his favorite quotes that he loves me saying is, roll the beautiful bean footage of what happened here at caution number 1. Oh, there it is. Contact between Jatina and Yoakum. Higman gets in there. It looks like himself with Ritter, but it looked like just a meeting of 2 people going for the same piece of real estate.
Yeah, and I think Ritter was feeling very fortunate after that huge hiccup there where he got loose and saved the truck, and then, of course, another accident happens in front of him with Yoakum and Jatina. He just had nowhere to go here. You see all the trucks just kind of trying to get woed up, but wide open throttle here, you're not going to get woed up too much from a sideways track.
We'll come back and look at more replays. I think a couple guys got through there barely, but we got pit stops. Lap number 30, so this now becomes a 2-stop race to the finish as these guys come in. 4 tires, I would assume. I don't think you're taking 2. I mean, you're definitely changing the right rear. Let's just put it like that.
Yeah, as the first couple of drivers starting to go in their box, right sides up, so we'll see if they run around to the left here. Looks like most of these trucks, you're right, Chris, are taking 4 tires on this stop. We might have a couple of 2-tire chasers, but doubtful as the first couple of trucks racing off the pit road.
Yeah, Dalton wins the race off pit road, so it looks like everybody 4 tires. And fuel, as I see, yeah, I don't see really any 2-tire takers in this situation here. So everybody just playing it smart. 4 tires, getting to that next pit stop whenever that comes. All right, so I want to go back and I want to go on board with, I want to see if Mike Kelly was involved in this wreck. Because I saw when the wreck starts, I watched the 2 kind of spit out in the middle of this wreck. And I'm like, okay, either he got a piece of this or he didn't. And he's still on pit road, so I'm going to assume he did get involved in this right now. Or he's getting a new pair of underbritches, one of the 2 here. So let's ride on board. This is Mike Kelly here in the 2 truck.
See the wreck in front of him there.
Wow!
I think he got rear end damage, Chris. I was looking at him on pit road. Looks like the rear end of the truck banged up a little bit, so Mike Kelly might have just gotten hit from behind there going into that wreck, trying to get woed up, and everybody behind him couldn't get woed up quite as good as he would.
If there's one piece of the truck you want damaged, if you're going to get damaged, don't damage my engine. Go to the rear with it. So he might be okay. He gets that thing fixed up. So we'll have to see. Hey, let's step away just a quick second. We'll come back and get you more green flag racing here from the virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway on the Captain Esports Network.
If recent storms have caused damage to your property, contact 811 before you begin your cleanup. Buried utilities around uprooted trees can make a bad situation worse if those lines are not located before digging. Electric, natural gas, and internet lines are everywhere, and knowing where they are is the safest way to start any digging project. Call North Carolina 811 by dialing 811 or by using single address ticket on nc811.org or the NC811 app.
All right, back here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Lap number 32 about to go into books as we wrap up caution number 1. A wreck, unfortunately, with contact between Randy Yoakum and Joey Jatina. Bringing the caution out, Tyler Dalton, who's pretty much led him and Wetzel, been side by side the whole entire race. Come to the green flag here at the completion of lap 32. Good restart for Wetzel there on the top side. Glenn Campbell up there. You got Tommy Ryan on the bottom. And those four get away a little bit here from this pack.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's going to be good, Chris. You know, in normal super speedway fashion, you get out too far ahead, and that pack behind you is going to come with a vengeance. That 9 truck still hanging on the outside there of Bobby Wetzel as he's going to fall back to 4th, but looks like that pack's starting to get a run on them, but not quite as bad as what we would see at places like Talladega or Daytona.
Yeah, you don't want to get too far ahead, but the problem is when you have a track, as I mentioned, it's as tight as Daytona, but when you have the dimensions of it, the way you enter these corners and come out, it's not as wide of, or not as long of a track, so it's obviously tighter confines. There's the word I'm looking for, and because of that, it makes it tough to make runs and be able to make passes wherever you want to. And of course, a lot of people think that line down there, that red and white one, is actually out of bounds. I'm actually not sure if even in this league that's considered a rule. So technically you could go down there, but a lot of people kind of find it as maybe a gentleman's rule of like, I'm not going down there type of thing.
Yeah, I feel like through the tri-oval it would be okay, but the issue is when you get down the back straightaway with the significant banking change here, if you enter in anywhere close to the bottom of the track below that line, if nobody's going to let you back up, there could be a problem. There's a 3-wide battle now for the second spot.
Yeah, you see right there in the bottom side, Kevin DeBrown. In the middle there is that Ford truck of Bob Gillenwater. I'm not used to, look at a little check up there from everybody. That almost got ugly.
Yeah,
3 wide up front.
Yeah, and that's the second time we've been 3 wide there. I believe that's the 12 truck, the 20, and I want to say the 29 there. Can't quite see the number. It's a little dark, but I think that's Donnie Leah down there on the bottom. Still 3 wide, as we might see this top lane come into play as the 20 truck now moving forward. Derek A. Myers on the top all by himself, going to try and hop down, but he's making moves there up on the top side.
That's that side draft up there on that top side. Kevin DeBrown, remember I talked about him pushing people. He'll go wherever it takes to get to the front as Tommy Ryan has moved to the leader. So all of a sudden we get past that first caution and business is picking up, and now Wetzel's in a little bit of a Transervice sandwich.
Yeah, and Myers still on the top side, now about to challenge for the lead as they're still 3 wide. He's the only truck up in the 3rd lane and is hanging tough on the outside of Bobby Wetzel. It's still coming out of turn 4. They're almost even 3 wide.
How much is that just momentum carrying off the banking?
I honestly don't know if it's really much momentum carrying off the banking, Chris. I mean, he is just hauling on the top side off of the side draft alone.
Yeah, the side draft is powerful in these trucks. Some might use the term OP, overpowering. But either way, man, what a move by Myers up to 3rd now. Second truck outside lane in this pack of trucks, but yeah, racing definitely picking up here. All of a sudden, we're 13 laps from halfway. We shouldn't remind the guys there's no halfway bonus. I know you're used to that, but we're straight up racing here.
Yeah, and to give you an idea, the 20 truck of Myers started in the 10th position on that restart.
Wow.
He's up almost 10 positions. I mean, he's in the 4th spot right now, second car on the outside. So he just went up to the top side and just started moving around the field. And a lot of drivers towards the back of the field that are still trying to stay tame, not get involved in the accidents here, we're just short of halfway, are going to take notice of that. We might even see a third lane start to form later on in the race. Some of those drivers towards the back of this first pack here are going to try and push their way around.
Tommy Ryan, Tyler Dalton side by side up there in the lead. And let me add this to you. You said Myers restarted 10th. He actually started this race 26th and is up to the 4th position now as they're side by side for the lead. Tom Dreiling's actually joining this battle now in that 63 truck. Anthony Calantoni, he's pretty good there on a super speedway. He's up to the 9th position himself. 2 cars off the track right now. Steve Ritter and Randy Yoakum after that incident there just a couple laps ago as we come up complete lap 40. And I think Tommy Ryan led that lap. And Ryan, very underrated super speedway racer. I've told this story multiple times, but I'll share it again. There was another league I used to broadcast with and on another channel, and basically Ryan, in one of their biggest races at Daytona, twice went out there, won the pole and won their big race at Daytona each and every season. So that 99 truck knows how to super speedway race, and here he is with Tyler Dalton up there in the front right now. So they're showing that they can be the Pied Pipers, if you will, and lead the way around here.
Absolutely, and a lot of people say that super speedways are the wild card, but there's also a lot of skill involved with it, Chris. You know as well, of course, being a member on iRacing, super speedway racing is not just simple hold down the throttle and turn the wheel. I mean, there is a skill to super speedway racing, receiving pushes, giving pushes to other drivers. So being good at super speedway racing can help you out a lot, especially in the series where it's a win and you make it into a playoff system. One win at a super speedway and you're locked in for the whole season.
Yeah, and then not to mention you got all these, the way the truck handles, the way, as you mentioned, the pushes come and the way you give pushes out there, restarts, pit road. There's so many different things that are outside of the luck component. The luck component only comes into play of missing the big wreck. Yeah, that's where luck comes in. Otherwise, it's just you got to put yourself in the right position, and that's more, I would think, mental than it is skill on that side. The rest of it, you got to know how to drive the truck.
Well, in Tommy Ryan's position, if you're just out front most of the time, I'd say a good 95% of the time the leader isn't involved in the big one unless some big stuff happens and the leader gets turned. So the Tommy Ryan spot right now, he's sitting pretty in that second spot.
Oh, 3 wide around the lap truck. Yeah, Ritter up there top side. Does a great job staying out of the way. As long as you don't hit that up right on cue, the wall. Which, in fairness, turn 3, that wall actually curves a little bit. I don't know if you've noticed that, but the track is not like perfectly rounded there in turn 3. The wall actually goes at a different angle, so it's very easy to go up there and tag it and that kind of thing. But still 2x2 all the way back to, oh my gosh, 20th, 25th almost.
Yeah, and, you know, we expected that single file racing, but still 2x2, and I think that's mostly these drivers that had to check up for that wreck under the last caution. A lot of drivers fell from inside the top 15 all the way to outside the top 20, so a lot of people trying to battle their way back, but somebody who I'm surprised, 4th car on the outside there, Bobby Witzel, was running up front there. Now's got the, I believe, the 93 truck of Kevin D. Brown behind him. A great pusher like you had been telling, but obviously some stuff going on there. Either he wants to back out of those front few trucks or just got freight train there after the 20 truck of Myers had ended up going by him there on the outside.
Yeah, probably playing it careful there. You see Gillenwater to his inside there, and then one of those A-Shock Energy trucks that's Simley over there inside. PJ Luttrell's in this, but right now it's just a matter of being patient. You can't go anywhere, so why make moves? Just wait, hang on. You got 54 laps, still plenty of time to go. You have the old, you can't lose it on lap 1, or in this case lap 46, but you could lose it.
Yeah, absolutely. You can end your whole night just right here by making the wrong move. But we had talked about Myers starting in the 26th spot up to the 3rd spot now, but quite a few drivers started really deep in the field. Kevin D. Brown started 25th. PJ in the 24th truck started in the 21st position. is all the way up to 12. So a lot of drivers that either missed that first wreck or just been making moves that we haven't seen. But, you know, I talked about the damage and how damage might affect these trucks as we saw. In a big wreck, the back straightaway, save it.
Tom Dreiling. This is a single truck wreck, I think.
That had the option to be huge.
You know what he did? That was the perfect thing he did was he turned that thing left and kept it down on the apron. I think he is the only truck maybe with damage after this. But the second caution out, well, John Fowler's coming down pit road, so maybe the 44 got some damage, or the 48, I'm sorry. But let's see what happened there. I looked up. I was actually looking at something, and I look up, and I see a truck, again, facing the camera with the side. And I'm like, uh-oh.
Yeah, that had the option to be absolutely huge down the back straightaway, Chris. I mean, as we get the replay here.
Yeah, see, top side, he's got the Donnie Leah truck to his inside. Oh, you know what? They checked up in front, and he got tagged from behind. Maybe a little contact with other trucks, but everybody stayed off him.
That is by far one of the most astonishing wrecks I think I've seen on iRacing here at the new configuration of Atlanta.
Hey, let's get pit stops right at halfway. Hello, fuel mileage. Should be okay on fuel no matter what, unless we get one of those overtime type things.
Yeah, I believe so, and we'll have to see if some of these drivers play a tire game here, that some of them don't just either take two or fuel only until a little past halfway. I mean, like you said, Chris, we can make it here.
Kevin DeBrown.
Yeah, so he's going to go straight up to the front there, and I don't think the right rear would be too terrible after that short of a run, but Kevin Brown wins the race off of pit road, and he might have been the only driver that took two.
Yeah, it looks like everybody else 4 tires as Kevin comes off pit road with the lead here. So that's going to play an interesting strategy. I want to go back here. Let's to the wreck here. I want to go on board, but let's go to the rear of the 23 truck here, and let's see if that's exactly. Yep, there's the checkup and there's the contact.
And you can see the left rear crinkle up a little bit, maybe some slight contact, but most of these drivers stayed right up against the wall, and little to no contact from the wreck. I mean, that could have been at least half of the field right there, Chris, that we had. I'm
hearing the words GG like in my head as that truck spins, and he's good to go, continues on after that spin. That there is pretty crazy. So great job on his part, great job on everybody's part to get through this. And you know what? Let's talk to somebody here. Let me get Kevin real quick. I think I want to hear his strategy a little bit here. Kevin's a fun guy to talk to, one of the team name guys down here. Guess that's actually a team name, by the way. As Kevin joins us, hey Kev, you got a copy, bud?
Hey, I got you.
All right, you got one to go, so we'll make it really quick here. Talk about that strategy. You took 2 tires there. I know the right rear is screaming hot, it seems like, after 20 laps. How much are you feeling that?
Well, actually, we just took fuel only this time.
Oh, okay.
We got 2 more sets left, so I figured we shouldn't burn a set here. I figured the right rear is not that bad, so I mean, we should be good. I'm hoping it'll be good. I didn't try to lean on as much during that last run, just in case the caution was to come out, and we'll see how it goes.
Minus the GWC, can you make it all the way on fuel?
Oh yes, yeah,
okay.
We're good now.
That's what I figured. So, all right, man. Well, best of luck there. I know you're pretty good at pushing people, but right now you're about to get pushed around a little bit, so get ready.
Thanks, man.
All right, you too. Kevin DeBrown there in the 93 truck. Fuel only. You kind of talked about it just there.
Yeah, I'm quite surprised there. He's the only truck, not only, didn't take 2 tires, but he's the only truck on no tires out of everybody in the field right now as we get lined up to go back green here. And the only thing I'm wondering is, will there be some wheel spin here on this restart? I mean, we haven't seen anybody restart with old tires, and I know the old Atlanta configuration was notorious for it. So we'll see if Kevin can get off the shot here to take the green flag.
Which I should share the warning. If you do, they're going to turn right. At least that's what the trucks normally do. Let's see. Kevin, pretty straightforward. Maybe a little bit spin there. Spin up and through the gears. Tommy Ryan's right there with him. And here comes Tyler Dalton. The other question is, how well are you going to be able to push this guy? Because he's not going to have the same handle. And then the other question is, how much did the right rear cool down? As, a little blinking there from them. Is that the 20 truck outside?
Yeah, one of the drivers that we were talking about, Myers, coming straight up through the field, passing on the outside of 3 wide. Chris, we also have to think on Kevin D. Brown's truck, the difference in fuel load. These trucks handle completely different with a full tank of fuel. So not only old tires, but putting a full tank in there might make that thing really, really tight on entry. So we'll have to see as he's getting quite of a good arc trying to get off into the corner, and it doesn't look like he has much trouble there, but we'll have to see later on in the run if as that fuel starts to burn off, these tires get older and hotter, if he's going to have a significant problem on his hands.
Yeah, Tommy moved down there in turn 1 and then moved back in front. Let's see if he pushes up. This would be, if anything's going to happen, it would have been right there, because obviously you got the air completely taken off your nose, and it looked like he handled that corner pretty well. As a matter of fact, gets up there and gives Tommy a little bump. As looking Myers going topside with that Transervice tandem up top, with Glenn Campbell looking to get himself a win up there. Campbell's had a pretty rough year, if you will. He's been involved in a lot of incidents, had some bad runs. Good to see that 44 up front.
Yeah, and a lot of these drivers that have had some trouble at other super speedways finding this track maybe a little bit easier, Chris. Like you said, you know, the diameter, well, the size of the track not being as wide. I mean, you're not having to deal with that third lane, so the outside line is kind of prevailing here. Again, I think it would, I'm so undecided if you're burning more heat. I feel like if you get a good arc on the outside, you might be able to keep that right rear cool, but, you know, again, we'll have to see at the end of this run. I mean, the only issues we've seen so far with the 16 truck, and he was in the outside lane.
Oh, hard in the wall goes somebody. The 6 truck, hard into the wall, Montesi. I mean, his truck was tumbling. Calantoni, another truck flipping.
Kelly just landed back on his wheels after rolling down the banking.
I looked up and I saw trucks going to the right in turn 3, so obviously somebody got hooked. Montesi jumping the pit road, so obviously a big wreck here. Going to take a lot of the front contenders out. Let's see what happens here. This is lap number 55. I think Brian Wortman might have got some damage here, that or he stopped. I would probably actually guess he stopped, because that's usually a Wortman move.
Yeah, Chris, and I think that was another situation there, as I'm looking back at it now, of just checking up and just a bad push, or a push gone wrong, rather, because the outside lane checks up going off into turn 3.
Yep, 24 gets turned into the 84. Yep, 2 involved. See, 84. As predicted, Wortman stops back there, that red truck. A couple of the trucks stopped. Good idea. Not the safest thing you can do when you're in the back. Just stop.
Yeah, and I don't quite know if there was another secondary wreck there in the back. We saw some smoke coming out of one of the trucks. I don't know if that was just him trying to get the truck wound up for the accident, or if we had a secondary contact towards the back of the field.
You know, it's what's interesting here. I want to go on board here in a second. Yeah, I see back there some contact. It looks like the can't tell what truck that is from here. That black and maybe gold truck. I want to go to, I wonder if Calantoni checks up here. There was a lot of space in front of him. As the 24 gets to him. Let me go on board with him here. He blips the throttle there. It looks kind of weird to me. It's almost like maybe the 24 had too good of a run maybe behind him.
I mean, that's a very good possibility. I mean, that was an immediate turnaround, so maybe just a bad push going off into turn 3. As we'll take a look from the rear end view here.
That's exactly what happened. 24 got to him, bumped him, and then obviously that kind of stopped the momentum, and then the car behind him, I think it was Kelly, jacked up the 24. So it was just, again, a bump draft gone wrong. But I hate to break it to you, the bump drafts are going to get worse the later we go into this race. But something I was about to bring up as this caution came out, and it kind of popped in my head because I actually ran a league race here Saturday night. How much could we say that this Atlanta package could have a lot of similarities to the old Daytona? Because you couldn't really do 3 wide on that bumpy thing. So you were 2x2 the whole time.
I mean, I think the similarities are pretty close. I mean, of course, the bumps aren't necessarily a factor here, but the actual width of the track, I would say, is very similar to what we would see in, I believe, is the '07 configuration
Correct.
at Daytona before the repave. And a lot of these drivers are definitely battering, I would think, the exact same thing of just not having enough space to maybe either make that third lane work, or not wanting to be that aggressive early on in the race to try and make it work.
So I think the cautions are going to play a big role here, but you wonder if some of these trucks, especially you go back towards, I'm looking at some of the trucks right now, like Brandy Key, Tom Dreiling, some of this might be damaged too. Pitting at 56, a lot of these other trucks staying out here. You wonder if some of these trucks have already packed up their tool set and heading to the next race next week and saying, you know what, we're done pitting. We got the fuel to go to the finish here. We're not giving up track position now.
A very good possibility, and that we'll only see that in time, Chris, is, just here coming back to, I believe, 60 laps in. We'll have to see how that plays out.
Yeah, 57 laps coming up here in the books this time. Tommy Ryan and Kevin DeBrown up front with Derek Myers and Tyler Dalton in a great restart. And you wonder if Brown maybe spun the tires a little bit there or was easy getting back to the throttle. But immediately top four goes single file. Wetzel goes crossover, move top side. And that leaves Bob Gillenwater up there all singing his lonesome.
Yeah, and I don't think the side draft is going to be quite enough as he just falls back into line behind Campbell. Now everybody's single file
Miles to the
for
lead.
just a split second there.
Yep, Myers jumps out of line to the bottom to the lead. With help from the 93, there's the pusher, Kevin DeBrown. That was probably orchestrated, I would say. But here comes that top side. Dalton helping out Tommy. Wetzel's coming behind him. And these runs are massive in these trucks, which, well, they usually are.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, a run in a truck is absolutely insane. You can be 5 car lengths behind the field and catch up and probably slingshot your way halfway up to the front. But we're going to have to see exactly what can get orchestrated between these drivers later on in the race. 60 laps in, we still got 40 laps to go. And in hindsight, we still have a good portion of the race, almost halfway left. So these drivers are going to take it a little easy, but we might start seeing those lines where 4 or 5 guys are all locked, bumpers pushing each other. And wouldn't surprise me if the lap times went up, but also wouldn't surprise me if maybe we saw another big one here. I'm hoping not, but with the pushes that we've been seeing and a lot of aggressive pushes already, I can't imagine that later on in the race they would get any easier.
They never are. As we ride with the Monster Energy truck there with Joey Jatina and his inside, it's David Comstock. A little dash cam here or something. I never knew where my production people put these cameras. Oh, wait, I am the production guy. What was I thinking? It's a cool camera. I'll take it.
Absolutely. And something I did want to bring up, as we could see the rear end of Donnie Leah's truck in that camera right there. But the damage that I was talking about of some of these drivers getting in these accidents, Donnie Leah's truck is pushed in a good 7 inches in the rear end. And he's still in that main pack. It looks like he's able to receive pushes and give pushes pretty well, at least from what we've seen over the past few restarts. So I'm thinking damage necessarily isn't as big of a factor as we would see at Talladega or Daytona. Saw some trucks, though. Might depend where it is, because that rear end seems like the driver's still in the field, but Randy Oakham had some side damage, went out, ran 2 more laps, and pulled down pit road.
A block, kind of, sort of. Ron Holyfield went to make a move, John. Oh, and a leader's wreck. Tommy Ryan. Bobby Wetzel, this is your big wreck.
And that's what we call the announcer's curse right there. Donnie Leah involved in the crash. We got done talking about it.
Last night, I'm watching the USC football game, and Caleb Williams not throwing a pick at 213 passes. 3 passes later, throws a pick. It happens to all of us. Caution's out for the 4th time, and this, I'm guessing, is a bumper hook. Has to be.
It looks like there's a bit of space. We'll just say that between Myers and the 99 truck. I mean, there was a good 2 feet maybe in between those 2 trucks as they entered off into turn 3. They maintain that space, and then the 99 truck just goes around.
Oh my gosh, that's huge net code. Like it looks like it's between the 20 and the 99, but remember earlier the 20 was blinking. How much did that play a role in this with this net code? But look at this. There's at least a truck with a space.
Yeah, that was absolutely massive net code right there. I mean, that's about the amount of space maybe a half a truck with less. So we watch them dive off into turn 3, and the 99 truck just abruptly goes around right there.
I mean, you
right
see
there.
the door damage on the 19 even.
Yeah, and there's the so-called side contact that caused the whole accident there. There was a good half a truck of space, Chris.
Yes, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 so far. Once again, I think a lot of these trucks might get away with this.
Yeah, quite
oh, there's some damage on the 95. I'm counting 5 trucks so far.
Yeah, I believe one of the trucks that isn't going to make it the rest of the race here is Bobby Wetzel. Had such a great run all evening, and they got hooked head on to the wall there with all the damage. I don't think he would be able to continue, but there might be some motor damage on that 9 truck as well.
Man, that's an unfortunate... That's the part that's going to sting the most, is when you're up there running the whole entire time with these leaders, doing a great job, and you get net code as half a truck length, as you mentioned, wide, that takes out, you know, what, 4 leaders at least right there in this race. So, unfortunate thing, you can't blame anybody for it. I mean, the first question you immediately ask when that happens is, okay, would there have been contact between the two? I will easily argue right now, no, there would not have been, because Tommy was holding his line, Derek was holding his line at the bottom, but for some reason, the internet or whoever, the lag or whatever you want to call it, thinks to each other, oh, they touched, and there's the big wreck.
Yeah, and that's one of those wild cards about sim racing, Chris, that we see all the time. You could be running just an official race, a hosted race, or, you know, even part of a league like the Transervice Truck Series, and, you know, you'll run into issues like that. I mean, we have drivers running from all over the country, and in some series you run all over the world. And, you know, iRacing does its best and does a great job at keeping that at bay, but sometimes there's really nothing that you can do about it.
Yeah, because that comes down to, it could be a mixture. You got iRacing doing its thing. Of course, how's your internet where you are? How's the weather where you are? What part of the country are you living? There's so many different questions that can be asked in that kind of thing. But unfortunate for the Tommy Ryan and Bobby Wetzel, those guys having great runs, and maybe I get a chance here, I'll grab one of them and bring them up here as...
Go meet them at the Infield Care Center.
Yes, we'll go talk to them at the Infield Care Center. We'll, they've been checked and released. By the way, the champion this season going to get a 6-pound custom championship belt from Trophy Smack. They're going to be able to carry the belt around as the champ. I expect photos at the end of the season from whoever's got that belt on.
There's got to be a Discord award ceremony. There has to be.
The champ is here, boys. So next week, Auto Club Speedway, and then we go to Nashville. Well, speaking of Auto Club, that'd be a fun race, multi-groove, and in Nashville, kind of a super speedway to race short track-ish, sort of, style. It's its own little anomaly. But big shout-out to Transervice as we go back to the green. They got the front row right now, and they're also the sponsor of the series. You can check out any career opportunities you might want with Transervice Logistics. You can go actually to the Sim500 website and go click on the Winter Series and get access to their website right there through the Winter Series page. But big shout out to Transervice. Says Bob Gillenwater getting a big restart on Myers. Here he comes to the front with damage from that 81 truck, who, by the way, is very notorious for being unsponsored. Going to the inside, Josh Parker.
And 2 of the trucks inside the top 3 right now, Chris, qualified outside the top 25. And they're pushing for the lead right now as Robert Glenwater leading the field.
Yeah, Bob doing a great job there. As he takes the lead. He is and Campbell's like, I'm out. I ain't doing this. He knows what's going on. Actually, he might have an issue or something, because he is slowing really. He's almost stopped over here. I thought he was actually checking out the pack, but he must. I wonder if his screen went black or something. But either way, yes, Simley running topside with Myers now. Look at Tom Dreiling. He had that spin for life. And here comes Kevin DeBrown topside. Now business is picking up.
Absolutely. In that third lane, they're definitely going to have to be a little bit crazy to go up there and try and get it yourself. But that side draft has shown huge advances. By the way, on a side note, Campbell back out on the racetrack, maybe just a connection issue or a system issue, but he's back out on track, but just now coming out of turn 2, so the likelihood of him going a lap down, his chances of this evening being up front may be shattered.
Yeah, let's hope it's not, but yeah, Campbell, unfortunately, it must have had, as you mentioned, a connection or something. Now, if there's anyone you would maybe call, if we use this season's terms, maybe a Ross Chastain, if you will, an aggressive driver. Kevin DeBrown's that guy. He will make moves that you will literally, as I said, you'll hold your head like, what is he doing? literally jumping to the top side to make moves. Now he's pushing Simley, who's almost pushing Myers, who has to get out of the gas because they about wreck. And how about Jeff Ryan right there in that 3 truck now making an appearance up there in the top 8. So he's doing a great job. This is that kind of racing where wild cards can win. Tom Dryland back up there. John Higman in his 60. He was in a wreck earlier. He's sitting up here. Brian Wortman sitting back there. I see that red truck in the Wortman. I don't even see Wortman's name on the board here. There he is, 14th right now.
Yeah, a lot of trucks with damage that have been involved in those crashes. Josh Parker in the 81 truck running in the 2nd spot right now.
Comes Kevin.
The whole front end is killed.
It's almost like here's Johnny. Here's Kevin at the top again.
Yeah, to the outside of 3 wide. And again, trying to make it work. This might be the first time that we don't see it work for him. And there's
caution
a yellow
out.
flag out.
Trouble on the track somewhere. I don't even have anybody showing. You know what, Kevin Stone? It looks like, yep, 17 truck over here has gone around. What I thought at first was like a Pac-Man truck, because when I see the yellow on the hood from far distance, it looks like Pac-Man, but I cannot figure out what it is. But either way, that pink, black, and yellow truck brings out the caution. Let's see what we can find here. He's back here in this pack of trucks. They're 3 wide there. John Mushton was out. Oh, 95 doors him. And then doors and clobbers him again. And unfortunately for Kevin England, he gets sent to the inside wall. Who's in the 95? That's, is that,
Brandon Key.
Brandon Key. All right. Brandon Key getting involved. I don't know who Brandon is that well, but, obviously unfortunate deal there. Brandon just maybe put in an uncomfortable spot there, maybe. And, circumstances happen. We'll just call it. But Bob Gilroy, got some faking on pit road here. Myers made a fake. Parker's going to come down. Simley, Jeff Ryan, and others going to come to pit road. And I want to see if any of the drivers from that wreck with the leaders might be still in Discord. It turns out there is. Let me get my buddy Tommy up here. And let's talk here for a second. Tommy, got a copy, buddy?
Yeah, man.
All right, man. I know you're probably unhappy about that, but to run up front like you were, you and Bobby, and you guys were having a great race up there. Tyler was doing a great job helping you out, and then you see an incident get started by, 6 feet of netcode. How disappointing is that?
The iRacing guys were not nice to me tonight. You know, and I've seen that happen when typically the bottom 2 cars bump draft.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw Kevin just barely. I don't know how good he got to him, but it looked like he just barely bumped Derek into the corner, and then somehow a couple seconds later it net codes into me. I've seen that at like other plate tracks where the 2 bottom cars like bump draft, and then the 2 above them like get net coded, like if there's a car right beside them, and nails it.
So I wonder if that's some kind of a coding thing, maybe, that like it thinks that maybe the car's up there next to you guys.
Right. That's the only thing I can come up with. I knew Derek was down there, and I didn't feel like I pinched him, and then all of a sudden I'm sideways. It's like, damn, I just got hit. I don't even know where it came from.
Right.
Yeah. Unfortunately, man, we were trying to at least get a top 5 out of this thing, and that stuff happens, man. It's part of racing on the internet.
Yeah, you've been running up front, and I know, obviously I've seen you go to victory lane plenty of times, and unfortunately it's been a little bit here in this series, or at least since the ones that I broadcast on the network and stuff here. But I know it had to feel good to at least have a chance up here, because you had a terrible playoff over the Xfinity Series last season, and to be able to be up front here at your type of style track, Atlanta's really not Daytona or Talladega. That had to make you smile a little bit.
Oh yeah, man. You're just trying to run up front, because it's, you get back there. It's just there's nowhere to go unless you just try to take somebody 3 wide. So I was working with Bobby at the beginning of the race, that whole deal, and then all of a sudden he's behind me and he just takes me through. I'm like, come on, dude, what are we doing?
Right.
I could have dumped you like 10 times before, and I just kept being patient, following you as you washed out of the corner. But he's there to race, and that's all good. I just, if that's how he wants to run, then I just changed my mindset, and it's like, well, you watch that, I'm going to take you 3 wide, so it's all good. I'm not butthurt or anything over it. Just, like, okay, good, let's go.
So one other question real quick. I know we're going back to green, and obviously we'll let you get back to what you're doing or whatever. I'm sure you're helping your brother out or others. But how much? I brought this up to Ricky, who's here in the booth with me. But what do you see any kind of comparisons? I've thought about this, and I see it more and more as we're going here. Do you see any comparisons to this type of racing with the two groups to the old bumpy '07 Daytona?
Yeah. I mean, obviously it's bumpy. This is a little more smooth.
Right.
You just can't get away. And the trickiest part is, you know, when you get right up on somebody's tailgate or spoiler in another car, you really can't see that well. So when you go through the dog leg up here, it's you kind of get a reference of where your truck is, because sometimes you're just like, oh my gosh, man, I about took that guy out. I didn't realize I washed that time. So that's the biggest challenge with this, and just being patient and letting tires work themselves in, because at that point, before we had that long run, this thing was really getting on the right rear, and it was starting to rotate. So it was starting to get to be a handful, and that's why I went to the bottom a few times, and I did not like it. And I was like, I'm getting my butt out here. I'm gonna kill somebody if I stay there.
Yeah, we saw that with Ritter a couple times too, man. Well, great job, man. We'll see you tomorrow night at Texas Motor Speedway for the NC811 Call Before You Dig Cup Series. But man, we appreciate you joining us. Send some shout outs real quick.
Yeah, man. Obviously, Virginia811.com and NorthernTool.com. So thanks for those guys for sponsoring me this year, and we'll go get them in Texas tomorrow.
Attaboy. Great job, man. Well, good effort, I should say. I mean, I'm still happy for your run, but unfortunately, tough luck there at the end.
Yeah, it is. We'll go get them next week.
Sounds good, man. Thanks, Tommy, for your time. Tommy Ryan, unfortunately, out of the race, but yeah, that's. I'm thinking of what he said about I just saw Kevin Brown jump to the front here. I can't help but think about what he said about the net coating, and I'm like, that is something I've never thought about. Is when you're pushing a truck, I mean, does it maybe distract the coating or do something with it to make it think that the vehicle is so far up the track when really it's not? Maybe from the bumps as cautions back out.
Yeah, I have absolutely no clue. That's a very good point to bring up, Chris. And I believe that's a 127.
127, Kevin England, yeah. Yeah, you wonder how much the bumping is. Let's see if we can get a replay of what happened to Kevin. He's kind of sitting there. I'm not sure if maybe he had a connection issue. It's this little pack again.
Yeah, I believe the 17 truck, again, of Kevin Stone is involved as well.
Yep. Oh, look out. And he lands on the guy. Nice catch.
I don't think he's saying the same thing.
But and Isaac Morris is watching on the stream here, and you know, he talked about the ping and stuff, but it like my thought process is, maybe I'm just overthinking this a little bit, is you wonder if the push is doing something code-wise, as David Comstock was down on the apron there through the quad oval, and that's where the contact happens here, unfortunately, with 3 wide. And then, like I said, the 38 gets in there, and then that's Chad Campbell, and unfortunately Chad, who is a Braves fan, made the catch in left field, unfortunately, of that truck. But unfortunate deal there for Chad is we got some more trucks on pit road. But you wonder, like, where I'm going with this is, you wonder if the coding of where the truck is supposed to be gets messed up by another truck pushing it.
I mean, that could always be a great possibility. I mean, quite honestly, there's absolutely no telling.
No.
I mean, how any of it works. I mean, I can tell you right now that, you know, getting close to a truck when you're behind them is not an issue, but side by side that's where the issue entails. So,
yeah.
You know, quite honestly,
it's above our pay grade.
Exactly. Let the engineers take care of it.
Yes. You guys can get that. We're just going to sit here and act like we know what we're doing. So, but yeah, caution number 6 out for an unfortunate deal in the back there. It's got to be kind of frustrating for these guys that are trying to get back into a run here. Of course, it is picking up now. 20 laps to go in this race. We've had numerous lead changes. What a move that was by Kevin on that restart. As we were talking to Tommy, I believe he started, 4th, I think he was, 2nd on the outside. And he got Bob clear and then jumped to the bottom on him and made that pass. That was pretty impressive, the move he made.
Yeah, and a lot of drivers starting to make those aggressively impressive moves, I guess, if there is a way you can explain being super aggressive impressive. But maybe I should rap. That was a pretty good rhyme there. But,
That was pretty good.
anyways, I mean, you're going to have to get more aggressive, Chris. I mean, just inside of 20 laps to go here, and this is that point of the race. We're talking about everybody making very aggressive moves, and we've seen it way earlier than I had anticipated. I mean, we maybe only have about 20 trucks competitively left in the field, maybe 25 without significant amounts of damage, only 23 rather left on the lead lap. So, we'll have to see exactly how many trucks are left to make those aggressive moves and who is capable of receiving pushes and giving pushes to other drivers.
Yeah, this is where I feel, as I'm watching the replay here of the exact move, he pushed Myers out there that made the move to the inside. This is where I've always felt being the third or fourth place car has maybe always been an advantage on this kind of track, because if the leader, in this case Myers, does not make the aggressive move and immediately go to the bottom, or if you are the third place car, you get the leader out there ahead of the second place car and then you get cleared, it gives you the chance to almost make the move before anyone else to say, I'm jumping out of line to go get my move for the lead. And if you do that from the inside lane, you're going to kill the leader's momentum, because he's now got to fall back to the fifth place car to get the push, while you just go around the outside lane with the top line. On the outside, obviously, you leave the bottom wide open, shortest way around.
Absolutely, and with that momentum, you just have more control as well of where to put the truck, and being the first car in line, being pushed to that position. You have so much momentum, and you have so many different opportunities. I mean, we talk about the track being small, but generally speaking, there's one or two trucks out there. You have a lot of real estate to play with to try and get around those blocks.
Isaac, tough to see you not driving anymore, man. I know you're busy in life, dude. If you want to talk about a really, really, really talented open-wheel driver, Isaac Morris over here watching on the stream right now. Dude does some amazing things. All right, Kevin DeBron leads him to the green with 18 laps to go. He's got Myers there behind him. Gillenwater, not a good restart at all. He's got Holyfield there behind him. Jatina, that's three trucks right there. They're in that Sim500 Mafia, as they call them. They'll work together in this pack, so those two need to watch out up there in the front and see what could take place here. You got see Josh Parker's up there. You got Ed Burrell having a great run. You got some names you do not see up front a lot up here, and that's what this product brings you.
Absolutely, and the one truck around there had a bit of a moment with the 81 truck, I believe, towards the front of the field. Almost a little scuffle as they went off with Josh Parker in the 81 truck, trying to fight for the bottom there. Two trucks fighting for the same piece of real estate. Everybody's still going the correct direction and still up inside the top 10, but this is where these lines are going to start to form. The decisions that you're making right now, Chris, are going to determine where you're at when we get to 5-6 laps to go, and it's go time for these drivers. So everyone's going to start to make those aggressive initial moves right about now.
I will say this, Myers appears to love the top side. I've not seen that 20 down on the bottom at all. So I think that's one thing that these drivers need to put into their minds is, as you look at Derek, he's sitting right there, middle groove the whole entire time. Kevin's not afraid to go anywhere. Jatina down there at the bottom has got a little bit of damage on his left side. That might be hurting his momentum to get to Kevin. But he's got Holyfield there pushing. Now he's trying to get to the top side. One truck blinking in the middle. John and Parker just clipped the outside wall, and there's more contact. And there goes 3 or 4 trucks around. Jeff Ryan, John Higman. And I think that was product of the safer barrier that pokes out and grabs people in turn 3.
I believe so. He got forced out 3 wide going into turn 3, and I just don't think he saw that the wall wiggled like that and just barely caught the wall, and that's what caused everybody to go down the bottom of the track. A really interesting wreck, though. It seemed like everybody just kind of bottlenecked and slid down the track.
A couple tracks that come to my mind that have this thing where it reaches out and grabs you. Homestead, Atlanta, Michigan. And what I mean by this is I show the replay of this wreck. I think you're going to see the 81 truck is going to try to go into the corner, and he's so far up that unfortunately the safer barrier begins off of turn 3 there. In obviously when it does that, it shortens up the track. He hits the corner of it, and it causes this issue. So let's it's going to happen here real quickly because it didn't give me an actual contact wreck, so I got to back it up a little bit. But watch the third truck outside lane of Josh Parker, and watch how he goes to the top here. And unfortunately, the safer barrier right there. Well, actually, you know what? I'm sorry. The safer barrier is all the way around this track. Never mind. I'm wrong.
I believe that there was contact there, Chris, between Glenwater and Parker as they went off into turn 3. As I take a look at it here, looks like the Ford truck kind of danced up a little bit because Kevin D. Brown had a run on the inside, and that's what caused the 81 truck to kind of get up into the wall a little bit and everybody to kind of spread out because the 81 didn't actually make full contact with the outside wall.
I mistaken the old Atlanta for new Atlanta. The old Atlanta, there was no safer barrier on the back straightaway right there. This one there is because of the super speedway racing, so I guess you don't have to worry about that wall popping out and grabbing you anymore. But here you see Parker up the track. You mentioned the Ford truck there of Gillenwater. Let's see, right rear to front left. If so, it's very slight, but it definitely checks up the 81. And there's the old accordion coming out. You see the 12 gets into the back of the 60, who's going to go down and hit the 21. And then you see Jeff Ryan gets turned by the 23 of Dreiling. And then others, just Gerald Livingston piles in. That was about 6 or 7 trucks.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the damage it looks like, Chris, all these trucks are getting is side damage, and that's really what's going to affect you the most here.
You know who I think came away unscathed here? This 54 truck, Jimmy Coleman.
I was looking at him earlier, slightest amount of contact on the front end, but that could have been a lot worse for him.
I mean, Jimmy's like, you got to be kidding me here. This is the ultimate definition of Code Brown right here. There's the contact up there. Here's the checkup. Yeah, right there gets into Livingston and a little bit of Jeff Ryan, but that's more just push him out of the way and keep going. Wow. All right, so we're getting closer and closer to the end here. 7th caution, as we said, it was going to pick up as we got to the end of the race. And unfortunately, great series, great group of guys, but when the end comes, the racing's going to pick up no matter who it is. So I think you're going to see some more 2 and 3 wide. But this is where you start seeing those names pop up that you're like, where did they come from? Brian Wortman, Eric Arnold, Stoney Benfield, 10th position for him. But look at the big movers, too, in this race. I don't know if you can see that or not. Myers up 25, Kevin DeBrown up 23, Holyfield up 19, Parker up 23, Brian Wortman up 27. All the people that started in the back are now up front.
Yeah, and the 98 truck of Steve Herring, he started 33rd, Chris,
Yeah.
and he's in the 9th spot. So a lot of drivers that, like you said, qualified deep in the field, names we wouldn't normally see, are running up front here and have a shot at getting into a winning position here in this race without any damage because they didn't run up front.
That's exactly what that tells me, is that those guys hung in the back while the leaders went up here and raced and wrecked, and now they swapped positions. But guess what? Now they got to get up here and race. So let's see what happens here. Myers, good restart. Kevin DeBrown still on those tires, the older ones, if you will. And that's why he's having a disadvantage on the restart there as he gets going up through the gears. Holyfield's going to get shuffled out top side here. Let's see if Jadina jumps up there to help him. No, he's actually going to let him in line there. It looks like in the 4th position. No, maybe not. And now here comes Kevin, Mr. Aggressive there on the bottom. Or Mr. Excitement, if you will.
Yeah, and a huge jump there. Kevin D. Brown got around the 20 truck of Myers, and Myers just dropped straight back to the 4th position now. And as we see this front pack here, it's kind of separated. Maybe 10 trucks and 3 wide now for the 5th spot.
Parker! Oh, now he doors into Holyfield into the wall. I think he forgot to turn.
Either that, Chris, or that front end damage, and then the damage from the wreck just a few laps ago.
Might have took the air off.
That.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
now they're in the 2nd pack there, and 3 wide again in the 2nd pack.
I was going to say, Holyfield might forget to turn here. Actually, he does turn, but in the end, Mustian down to the bottom side there. That was almost ugly. 6 trucks pulling away here, but as long as these guys get single file real quickly, they should suck right back up to those 6 or 7 up there. It looks like 6. Look at Brian Wortman there, 7th position now, watching him as Myers continues to run that middle part of the track. He will not put that truck on the bottom.
Yeah, absolutely not. We'll have to see what Wortman can do here, as he's the last truck just behind that grouping of 6 there, and if he gets caught up here with Stoney in the 75 truck, he might have a huge run. We'll see if he takes it to the outside as they start to catch up to that group.
Brian Wortman is one of those racers. He has done some NASCAR teamwork. He went to UTI, and basically he's worked with a lot of underfunded teams. And he races this truck in any vehicle he is in on iRacing. He races it like an underfunded team. And he races that 74 truck like it is the only truck he has in his fleet. So to see him up here in the middle of this pack right now, you know he's going for it, but he just rode in the back the whole entire time and he's going to do everything he can to, one, keep that truck safe, but he'll go for the win at the same time here. As you see the outside line with Myers continue to hold off the 93 there on the bottom. And there goes Wortman at the top, and Benfield gets turned, saves it.
And that was an amazing move by Wortman up to the top there. I think he saw them checking up on the bottom and getting side by side. He pulled himself out of line there, anticipating a wreck to happen on the bottom of the track, and ended up getting to the outside and is still moving forward in that front pack, Chris.
Yeah, Benfield lost a lot of momentum there. He's going all the way back to 15th after that great save, by the way, which the banking, I think, helped a lot, but still great driving and all to make that save. And look at the damage on these trucks up here in the front. You got a scraped up left side of the 14. You got the 00 up there, a Mustang with damage. And there goes Wortman. He's like, going to the back. See, he's preserving that truck. You know, he's had times he's worked with let's see, Morgan Shepherd. Let's see who else. I know he did some stuff with Jeff Green back with the RSS days when they were doing a lot of start and parking with him.
Yeah, I'm a little familiar with that. I wouldn't know much about it.
Yeah. Almost got one yesterday.
Yeah, very, very, very close. Hey, but to take, 3 top 10s in a row, I'm quite happy.
After some of the cars we've seen get destroyed early in the season. And there goes somebody up into the wall. I think that was Mustin, so he's not going to be happy about that. But, I mean, especially, I think of Vegas when he pretty much got intent took out.
Yeah, both cars actually ended up going into the hauler with casters that week.
Yes, that's never good. As we watch up here in the front, two trucks top side, and the rest of the field on the bottom as they're kind of just trying to jockey around. 5 laps to go. Who's going to make the right moves at the right time? I mean, if you're in it, you can win it, as they like to say. That's the old quote. Where do you want to be in this spot, Ricky? You want to be one of those 2 front trucks, or do you... here we got a lap truck.
I'm going to be honest, Chris. I'm picking Myers in the 20 truck. I mean, that top line, just with the 2 trucks, nobody else organized behind them. They are keeping right with Kevin D. Brown in the 4 truck of Glenwater on the bottom, and they're doing quite well, almost leading to the line pretty much every single lap here with just a few to go. So that outside lane with just the 2 trucks, I think has a great shot there as they go around the 2 truck, putting him another lap down here of Mike Kelly.
Very interesting here as we come to 3 laps to go this time by him. Whoa! Hold on, Myers! He just got shuffled out! Eric Arnold, who's also an aggressive driver. But Myers gets back in line. That just helped Kevin DeBrown. You wonder if Kevin might jump to the middle now and try to control.
Yeah, now he's in a really good controlling spot here because he can go to the top or the bottom. Nothing holding him there, but he stays to the bottom. The 20 truck now working his way to the back bumper, and we're going to see another 2-lane battle here as we'll see if Kevin D. Brown goes up to the outside.
2 laps to go, and if I'm Eric Arnold, do not leave that middle lane open because I'm pretty sure that 20 will fill that gap.
Absolutely. These drivers looking for every piece of real estate possible as hard pushes coming from the top and the bottom. 4 trucks under a blanket as they work their way down the back straightaway.
Parker puts Jatina 3 wide back there in the back straightaway with help from Scott Simley, I believe that is. And now into the wall goes Jatina with Simley. And around goes Holyfield.
And well, Chris, I believe that green-white checkered situation you were talking about.
Wortman just got tagged. It does. And Wortman just got tagged again. Simley involved in this. It looked like it just unfortunately narrowed up. Jatina with damage. And hello, green-white checker, as you mentioned.
Yeah, we talked about the fuel situation going on, but I don't know if Kevin D. Brown actually expected a green-white checkered here, but maybe he's good on fuel, maybe not. But Eric Arnold, Glenwater, we'll have to see if all these drivers come down pit road and just take a splash or what may happen here. If these drivers even have enough fuel to make it, as it looks like Brown going to bypass pit road if it's open this time. A few other drivers as well.
There are 2 attempts at a green-white checker in this series, in all the series of the Sim500. As you see Jatina come to pit road here, I'm just getting the replay all set up here. It actually starts on the back straightaway with those 3 trucks right there. Stoney Benfield once again. And looked like maybe Stoney was just maybe a little up the track. And it just kind of brought the other 2 together. Let's see here. I could be wrong. It could have been a bad bump draft too here. So
I believe the 75 truck kind of works his way to the middle, and that's why those 3 trucks ended up in the wall. But I think that main crash happens quite a bit in front of them, actually.
Yeah, it's a Mustangs pushing the 1. They get tight. Yeah, I don't know. Once again, it looks like another one of those deals where maybe the 75, I hate to use it like this, but it looks like he forgot to turn.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure if maybe the toe is just kind of more than they expect from getting that draft. I mean, he has a huge run working his way into turn 3, Chris. I mean, significantly faster than the trucks in front of him, and then just goes off in there and moves 2 lanes off the bottom.
But, the main wreck actually happens in front of this, though. Because you know what? You see the 3 get the wall, but then up in front, the 00 and the 1 get crossed up right here.
Yeah, and I believe the 00 got into the 1 truck, and the 81 was just kind of an innocent bystander there. It seemed like Josh Parker's had a part in pretty much every wreck, and there's nothing he could do about it. Just wrong place, wrong time, and that's what brought out our caution here. But a little bit of net code between the 1 and 81 as well, Chris, to kind of get them both to go around.
I'm curious I'm just looking here. I might talk to John after the race and find out, was he actually trying to maybe tandem push the 1 there a little bit? I wouldn't think at this track you'd want to do that.
I believe so. I think he might have just had a run coming up onto the 1 truck, didn't expect him to move up, and just, a push on either corner of these trucks, and you're going around regardless. So I think it might have just been a bad push, but not an intentional bad push there, just a big run, tried to give it to the 1 truck, and circumstances didn't quite work out.
All right, going to come to the green this time by 8th caution. Kevin DeBrown, Eric Arnold, Bob Gillenwater, Derek Myers, and Glenn Campbell going to be your top 5. Here's where I think you got to be very careful if you're Kevin, who, by the way, took no tires in that last pit stop. So he's somehow kept his track position with these tires, and I'm sure all the cautions have helped out here. But if anyone here is going to be aggressive, outside the 93 and the inside, it's going to be that 20. We've seen the aggressiveness out of him all night with the moves he's made. Eric Arnold is a very aggressive driver too, and if he can get himself out front, I can see him potentially throwing some blocks and making some moves to potentially win this race. So let's see how this all transpires. They come to the green here. 1 of 2 green-white checkers. If they don't make it back to the white flag, then we'll do it all over again. Here we go. Kevin DeBrown, good restart on his part. Arnold spins the tires just a little bit. Arnold gets right in line. That might not be what they want here. Let's see if Myers can get a run up there on that top side. This could be Arnold making a move outside. Oh, he almost made the mistake there. He's trying to get the run.
And Myers now the 2nd truck on the top side, a 2nd lane going with Glenn Campbell being pushed up to the front, 3 wide going into turn 3.
Myers almost went to Macon to make a move. As here comes Arnold topside. And they're going to make it back to the white flag. It looks like, yes, they do. Final lap here in Atlanta. Who kicks off the season with a win?
And 3 cars on the top side pushing hard. It's going to be Arnold up at the front of that pack, but they start to lose momentum. Now the bottom side prevailing. Brown in the lead down the back straightaway.
Kevin goes up to throw a block on Eric Arnold. That might have killed the momentum of that top of the bottom lane, as Arnold's got a push from the 44 of Campbell.
Side by side as they work their way out of turn 4.
Oh, no!
Down on the wall!
They wreck across the line, and the leader and winner, is it Wortman?
Wortman!
Holy cow! Wortman wins in Atlanta.
And I believe he was in 7th or 8th place coming out of turn 4.
Did I just see? Wow.
7th place coming out of turn 4.
Can I say those words? Have you ever?
I have never.
Oh my gosh. I just want to make sure this is confirmed. I think Wortman did win this thing.
If so, we need to go back and watch his replay. He barely escaped through that crash.
Right there, just gets hooked. Everybody wrecks. Yeah, he wins it. He never lets off the gas at all. Holy moly. Here's your view. Where's Wortman? There it is.
I mean, he's
Oh, he
15
got it loose right
behind the
there.
rest of the field. Watch the truck on his left here as he just makes it through the. I mean, barely skates by.
That is a great James Busher impersonation, if you will, from Daytona a long time ago. But Wortman doing some donuts here with the win. How about that to start this season off?
And we were talking about how he runs the truck like a start and park and a low-budget team, and here he is in victory lane here at Atlanta.
And look at some of the winners we've had at Super Speedway races lately and some of these, Xfinity and Truck Series seasons. I mean, sometimes you just take care of the truck and you go to victory lane when it's all said and done. Wortman, I can only imagine how he's feeling right now. But
Absolutely.
Let's look at the finishing order from this race. Wortman wins it in the end. Myers second. Kevin DeBrown third. He's got to be heartbroken. Eric Arnold fourth. Bob Gillenwater. Ron Holyfield. Steve Herring. John Hickman Jr. ends up eighth. Jeff Ryan ninth. Jimmy Coleman in the 10th position for him. I'll let you do 11th through 20th.
Yeah, and Burrell going to be in the 11th spot, just outside the top 10. 12th going to belong to David Comstock. 13th, Kevin Stone, involved in quite a few crashes, still inside the top 15. 14th, going to be Doug Sigmund, who is in the 04 truck. 15th spot going to be belong to the 96 truck of Livingston. 16th spot going to be Stoney Benfield. Again, one of those drivers involved in quite a few wrecks. 17th spot going to be Glenn Campbell. 18th spot, Todd Derling. In the 19th spot, Scott Simley, rounding out the top 20 is 00 truck of Zahn.
Yeah, John Mustian Jr., as you mentioned, there we go. Trying to get the thing to work for me. Jatina 21st there. Steve Ritter 22nd. 23rd to Tyler Dalton. Josh Parker 24th. Bobby Wetzel 25th. Donnie Leah finishing 26th. Chad Coleman, Kevin England, and Brandon Key finishing in the 29th position. And the rest of the field here, Mike Kelly, Tommy Ryan, Callan Tony, Luttrell, Mike Montesi, and John Fowler, Randy Oakham. Your 36 finishers, or racers, I should say, in the race tonight. And oh my gosh, I'm sitting here trying to think of what I want to ask Brian Wortman here after winning that race. But let's get the man that unfortunately came so close, but yet so far to victory lane. Kevin DeBrown had what seemed like the money strategy potentially. Unfortunately, he falls up just a little bit short in this race. Kevin, I know you probably are disappointed there after I didn't see exactly which truck it was, but it looked like just a bumper hook. People just racing to the finish. In the end, you fall up a little short, but still finish third.
Yeah, it sucks finishing third, but I mean, I feel like we probably would have won coming off the floor there. But it's cool to see Brian get his first win in Sim500.
Yeah, it was. I was sitting back watching Brian, and I'm like, man, this is that kind of race for him. Everybody's wrecking. He could sneak right through there. But the strategy you made, obviously not taking tires and going the same set of tires for nearly 80 laps it looked like. So to do that and being able to save fuel, having that green-white checker, how stressful was it for you?
It wasn't too bad. I figured it'd be a lot worse on tires, but it honestly was not that bad. I don't know if it's just because I was the leader or what, but it was pretty good with the old tires. I'm surprised it hanged on so well, but I'm glad we got third of it.
Did you feel the restarts helped you out? Obviously, having so many.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I don't know if you heard us, but we were restarting first gear, and oh my god, the tire spin was awful. It did not like first gear at all.
I could have told you not to do that. I mean, I'm not the smartest guy, but at least I'd have told you not to do that. But anyways, man, still great job tonight. Great opening race of the season. Send some shout-outs to whoever you'd like to.
Chris Caboose painting the beautiful paint scheme. Racing Pride for coming on this season once again. Appreciate them. You for putting on a beautiful show. Can't wait to go watch it. And good win, Brian.
Absolutely, man. Well, great job finishing third. Good way to kick off the season. And we will see you next week in Auto Club.
Thanks, man.
All right, you too, buddy. Kevin DeBrown finishing in the third position. Let's talk to Derek Myers here, who finishes in the second position. Derek, obviously a great effort on your end. I noticed you were pretty much stuck in that middle lane. There was no other options, it seemed like, for you throughout. But talk about that last restart. You were there, had the chance, but looked like it just didn't work out for you.
Yeah, we had a great race. That middle lane, the higher line, it's definitely where I wanted to be tonight. It always had good momentum, and it did wear the tires was bad for us tonight. And we made it through all the wrecks and had a shot there at the end, and came up second. That was a crazy finish, and congrats to Brian Wortman on the win. That's his first career win, and I'm just happy to come home second tonight, guys.
Yeah, it was a great race on your part. Talk about obviously the moves you were making, because you started back in 26th and you were up to 10th there, and that second restart, we noticed you went topside there and started making some moves. How much was that top line working, and were you hoping that it would eventually come in again later on?
Yeah, I definitely ventured up to that and put it 3 wide there early on after that first caution. I wanted to get some track position, and the only way to do it is go where they aren't, right? And,
Pretty much.
no one came up there, and all these drivers out there are really good. So, if there's room out there to be made, we'll all make it work. And we were able to pick some off and then eventually get up there in the top 5. And thankfully, we're able to stay up there all night. And it was so much fun racing with these guys tonight.
You definitely did a great job in that Transervice truck tonight, representing the sponsor, doing your thing this evening, finishing second. Send some shout out to whoever you like to, man.
I'd like to shout out everyone at Sim500 for putting on the races through the week. It's a lot of fun to race in the league. All these drivers are great, man. And shout out to Transervice. They're a great sponsor, and I'm proud to represent them on my truck. And shout out to my teammates and you guys for putting on the broadcast with Captain Esports Network.
Appreciate that, man. Great job, Derek. Great second place run. Look forward to seeing you next week in California.
Sounds good, guys. Nice to meet you.
Sounds good. You too, buddy. Derek Myers finishing in the second position, and oh my gosh, if this is not the first time, I can actually be honest with you and say this is not the first time I've ever talked to Brian Wortman in Victory Lane in a win, because him and I go back like 2020, 10 years now of being on iRacing together, running in another league together. We've been there. We've done it. Brian's always been the same clean driver, and he's always been the one that sits there waiting for an opportunity. And if it shows up, he goes to Victory Lane, and lo and behold, Brian Wortman, 2022, we're talking to each other at Victory Lane again.
Oh my God. It's so, everybody said your first win is so memorable, and that got to be on top of the list of first wins memorable, because this is no joke. I just told Joey and Ed and all them in the Sim500 Mafia channel. Imagine if the top 6 wrecked and I get my first win. And I said that when we were coming out of 2 on the final lap, and and guess what? They wrecked.
Absolutely, man. You've been through a lot, and I know you're one of those that you've been racing for, 30 years almost on sim racing, from the old Bill Elliott NASCAR games to Nintendo all the way to now on iRacing, and
and 35 years old too.
There you go. Yeah, you and I
started,
are. Yeah.
I started racing at the age of 3. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, you and I are about. We're pretty much the same age, and you and I got the same kind of passion for this sport and stuff like that. You've done your share of actual crew chiefing, even a little bit there in the Xfinity Series, to being a team member for some of those underfunded teams. And I made the comment back about 10 laps to go. I said, Brian races this car like an underfunded team, and you see these kind of cars lately been going to Victory Lane because of the opportunities that show up. And I know this has got to be so cool to be able to do something like this.
Yeah. I thought my race was going to end at that last wreck on lap, like, what was it, like 98, 97,
right. Mm-hmm.
Because I got involved in the when I was trying to dodge that wreck, I got hit in the left rear, like, very late, and I thought my race was done. And then I got a good restart, and next thing you know, I was right there hanging on. I know I was not going to finish anywhere higher than 7th unless those top 6 have something, an issue, and they did, and I saw that hole. And I said, if it closed up, it closed up. If it doesn't, I'm going to come out the winner. And Oh my goodness.
Hey, make sure you take a photo of the point standings.
Yeah, yeah.
You'll be the point leader going the next week in California.
Yeah, yeah. And so unreal. 450 plus darts, and finally got my first ever Sim500 win. It's so unreal.
I was going to say, and not to mention, like I said, the other series that you and I have been around. I mean, I remember you see, I've seen you at SRA back in the day with Cheney and them. The
Yep,
Nordgar series, you've made many I mean,
yep,
you've probably made at least. I mean, I know
yeah,
Colvin's done 1,000 in Sim500. You've had to have done 1,000 in iRacing in general, league wise.
yeah, yeah, yep. Uh, I remember that one race with no regard. I stayed out on like what was it, like 70 lap old tires
I
at
remember
Texas
that.
with a gallon and a half of gas with 3 laps left, and everybody thought I was going to spin the tires at the start, and next thing you know, I was leading off of turn 2, and back then
Yeah.
there no green white
Mhm.
checkered, and I won the race.
Yeah, he
And
spun the
that when
tires. He spun the tires. It was after the race going to victory lane. That's where he spun the tires at.
yeah.
Great job, man. Hey, send some shout outs wherever you like to.
Oh my goodness! I need to thank Joey for putting this league together. I'm having so much fun, even though I'm not winning a lot, but still I'm having fun. Uh, all the sponsors for this put on this great series, Transervice. Um, everybody that support this league, it's so memorable. I'm I'm still you know choking up because I can't believe I won.
Absolutely, man. Go celebrate. You deserve it. And I know you've been through a lot here the last couple of months and stuff. So, on the personal side, go enjoy this one, man. You deserve it.
Yep, thank you.
You too, buddy. Brian Wortman, winner tonight here at the virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway. That was cool. I mean, that's how he races. He's always been like that. He'll find a way to sneak a victory on you, and you leave that door open. But Ricky, man, that was crazy. Let's just put it like that. That I didn't expect. I expected some carnage. I expected some great racing, and we got them both. I didn't expect the top 6 to wreck like that coming to the line.
Either of us did. I mean, that was absolutely amazing to, not only see somebody get their first win after so many starts, but the wreck off of turn 4 is, I don't think, what any of the fans watching this evening expected, to watch the whole top 6 go up and smoke down the front straightaway.
It was wild, man. Hey, I appreciate you joining us. I know we're looking forward to working together here on Sundays and stuff. Hope you enjoyed the show, man. And we go to Auto Club next week, which is going to be another wild race on a very old surface. Man, thoughts of what you saw tonight, man. That was wild. It was good.
Absolutely. I mean, the thoughts on tonight is that this is going to be a great season. A lot of great drivers. We had our share of cautions, but that's part of super speedway racing, honestly, Chris. And, I can't imagine to see what these drivers are going to do on a conventional 1.5-mile track and, a 2-mile track like Auto Club next week.
Absolutely, man. Appreciate Ricky for joining us this evening. Transervice for sponsoring, of course, the Sim500 series. And, of course, we're back tomorrow night from the Virtual Texas Motor Speedway for race number 4 of the playoffs. We'll see a pretty fun race there with the next-gen cars. John Mustian and I will be up here for that race as we'll go over to Texas and enjoy that fun one tomorrow night. It's actually, believe it or not, I know a lot of people dog it in real life, but it's actually pretty fun to race on in iRacing, at least my opinion. But we'll go from there. Anyways, congrats to Brian Wortman on the victory here tonight at Atlanta Motor Speedway as we head out for Ricky Springer. Of course, the captain, and always remember, this isn't just a game, it's iRacing. See ya!